Hi guys. So the head of the CBI, Lord Bilimoria, attacked the British government's response to the current heavy goods vehicle driver shortage. He explained that he had felt sick that Britain had been reduced to this. The CBI and heads of industry have been for years talking about how Brexit will be bad for both business and the economy. Remember, these people have a vested interest in trade, and to them it's absolute madness for a country to put up trade barriers against itself. He explains in this clip how he and the CBI predicted these problems and had provided solutions that were ignored by both Boris Johnson and his Brexiteer government.
I was driving back from Birmingham, from here, day before yesterday to London, getting into London about midnight and seeing these queues and queues of cars. And I felt physically sick. Here we are, the sixth largest country in the world, one of the wealthiest countries in the world, and we have to have that situation. I think it was completely avoidable. I look back to Hansard in June in the House of Lords. I challenged the government. I said, what are you going to do about the shortage of labor, including of lorry drivers? There is a huge shortage, 100,000 shortage. And they said, no, you skill them over here. We're not. I said, open up the immigration emergency list. The deal we have with the points-based immigration system after leaving Europe, the EU, is that if there is a shortage in any sector, you listen to organizations like the Migration Advisory Committee, and then you're allowed to bring in the workforce that you need. Now, how much more desperate can it get than this? And the government wouldn't listen. We said in the CBI as well, a speech in the CBI in June, months ago. And then now the government says, okay, we'll open up the the emergency list. And it's for 3 months. And wait for this, Christmas Eve. 3 months. Now, if you want to attract, there's a shortage in Europe, if you want to attract lorry drivers to come here, one, the conditions, they have a horribly hard job. We've got to improve the conditions for them. We've got to give them an attractive enough pay, but you've also given them some certainty of a much longer period than 3 months. So this is the thing I found about the government. They've been brilliant at helping business throughout this pandemic. £400 billion worth of support, the job retention scheme. But quite often with the CBI, we've said, look, we spot the problem, here's a solution, and the government doesn't immediately listen, they eventually listen. They could have listened earlier.
Ella.
And why don't they listen earlier is because they're Tories. Boris Johnson's modus operandi is to wait and wait and wait, hoping that the problem will sort itself out. And there has been this outsourcing of responsibility to business. Let businesses decide. Let businesses fix the problem. And we've seen it since the beginning of the year, where businesses were struggling to export. And the response from the government was, well, why don't you just set up in the EU? How is that helping businesses? How is that a real response to the problem? Let businesses sort it out. And I think this has been the approach so far. And businesses have said, we can't sort it out because we need this staff. We can't hire people from within Britain because for numbers of reasons, because we don't have enough trained people. We have to train them up. You can't just take people off the unemployment lines and put them on trucks to drive. No, they need to be trained up. That takes time and it takes money. And also, where there's unemployment is not always the same places where there is employment. Many businesses say we need staff, but we can't find them in the area. There are people who are unemployed. We would like to hire them, but they're living on the other side of the country. The Tories don't have solutions. The Tories never thought about the problems of Brexit. It was only about selling something to the public that would help them win power. There was never a risk assessment or any type of impact assessment carried out for Brexit. If there was, it would have demonstrated that Brexit would have been a disaster. Later on, of course, we saw Operation Yellowhammer, which predicted many of these problems. And it wasn't just Operation Yellowhammer. Remainers, business leaders, the CBI even, were talking about how Brexit would be a problem for Britain. And now we're seeing the consequences. is the government going to change? Are they going to turn around and say, okay, we were wrong and we're going to fix the problem? Of course not. This half-arsed measure, a visa system until Christmas Eve, in my opinion, is not designed to bring in EU drivers. It's designed to bring in drivers from outside the EU. People who have no plans to stay in the UK more than 3 months, no plans to settle in Britain. This is about bringing in drivers from Asia, from Africa, from South America, people perhaps who are currently driving but on low wages. You can bring them in and pay them double, maybe even 10 times the salary that they would have in their respective country. They'll come over for a few months and then they'll leave. That's, I think, what the goal of this new immigration system is. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.